So never begrudge the money you spend on your own personal education. Here's what Mr. Shoaff taught me. Good phrase to take home. Formal education gets you a job. Self-education gets you rich. Formal education make you a living. Self-education, what? Make you a fortune. And that's what all the stuff I've got is for. Just take a look. Take home whatever will serve you well. Wonderful. Now, here's what else. Somebody says, Mr. Rohn, I don't read well. Take this phrase home. You've got to change that. You can't go through with that kind of a handicap the rest of your life not being able to read well. There's too many classes you can take to speed up your reading. Get through more books. Retain more of what you do read. Do not limp along with a mental handicap of not being able to get through the books and get through the periodicals and get through the magazines and get through the stuff that can help to change your life. Never begrudge the money you spend on personal education, because that's where the miracle is. It's called the miracle of the mind. Incredible. Okay, now I've got to give you number 2. I've spent enough time on number 1. In fact, I got too carried away here. Philosophy. The first major piece of the 5 major pieces. Let me just start now on the second, and then we're going to take a little stretch break here. Everybody that's okay, say, I'm okay. All right. I like this crowd. I'll take you with me as my traveling crowd. How many have 3 pages of notes already? Wonderful. My gosh, you're working as hard as I am. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Okay, the first major piece we talked about was philosophy. We're affected by what we know and the decisions we make. Here's the second major piece. Attitude. We're affected by how we feel. 1's what we know, 2 is how we feel. The emotional part. Now, for life change, we don't start with the emotional part. We don't start with motivation to change people's lives. I know some people say, well, Mr. Rohn, by now I expected a lot of motivation here. We should be standing on the chairs waving flags. No. No, that won't do it. Somebody say, just motivate this guy. He'll be all right. Just turn him on, motivate him. Well, probably not. If a guy's an idiot, you motivate him. Now you got a motivated idiot. I'm telling you, it won't be all right. Key phrase for your notes. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change starts with education. When I first met my teacher, he did not inspire me. Here was his first task when he first met me, to find out what was wrong. And the first part of his education was what? Simple. You have messed up. Pennies in your pocket after 6 years. Something is wrong. Now, you don't have to change countries. And you don't have to wait for the next election. If you're willing to start doing something about it, you can change it all. So the first part of his education was what? You've messed up. But he didn't leave me there. He said, now, here's the second part of your education. How to change it all, if you're interested. Now, some people aren't interested. I understand that. But I would assume that most of them are not here. You shelled out your cash, time, and money to be here. I would assume you're interested. So you qualify. For those that are interested, I'm telling you, you can change the whole next 6 years of your life if you're interested. You can change your income. You can change your future. Why? Anybody that wants to can set a better sail, regardless of the wind that blows. So life change starts with education, not inspiration. But now it is important how we feel. The attitude part is important. Let me give you now the short list. Just before our stretch break. The short list on how you feel. There's a long list. In our leadership weekend, we get into it all. How you feel about the government. How you feel about taxes. Shoaff taught me well at age 25. Taught me how to become a happy taxpayer. I used to say, I hate to pay my taxes. Shoaff said, well, that's one way to live. I thought, well, doesn't everybody? He said, no, a few of us have moved beyond that. I used to say, I hate to pay my bills. Shoaff said, you hate to reduce your liabilities and increase your assets? And I said, well, that's a different way of looking at it. He had me looking at things in a whole different manner. I used to say it cost too much. Shoaff said, no, let's face the real problem, Mr. Rohn. You can't afford it. I thought, whoa. I never looked at it like that. I always thought it was the problem. Shoaff said, no, Mr. Rohn, you are the problem. When I gave him that list of excuses why I hadn't done well, he looked them all over and said, Mr. Rohn, big problem with this list. You ain't on it. Come on, let's get you on the list now. Set a better sail. Don't keep wishing for a better wind. Maybe the Republicans next time. Don't postpone your life like that. Get you some new books, get you some new information, start listening to the cassettes, watching A Voice of Value, and see if you can't pick up some ideas to start the change immediately. And the next 6 years could work a miracle for you like it did for me that 6 years. Okay, but attitude is important. Now, here's the short list on how you feel. Number 1, it's how you feel about the past. You've got to have a good, healthy attitude about the past. And here's the best advice I can give you on that. Treat the past as a school. Let it teach you. Maybe a harsh school, tough school. What else is new? We've all been through some tough stuff. Some tougher than others, I understand that. But here's what I want you to use the past for. A schoolmaster. A schooling. Don't let the past beat you, carry it around like a burden. Don't let the past become a club, beat yourself over the head with past mistakes, past faults, past failures. Shoaff said to me, what? The last 6 years, Mr. Rohn, you've messed up. Now let's use that as a school to teach us how to turn it all around. So that's the attitude about the past. Reach into the past for what? Experience. One of the miracles humans can perform. Dogs can't do it, alligators can't do it, spiders can't do it, but humans can. Reach into the past for something valuable called experience. Now here's number 2. It's how you feel about the future. The future's called the promise. Here's what we learn in Leadership Weekend. The promise of the future is an awesome force. That's why I reach into the future. Try to perform that miracle to help kids see what? The promise. To help kids see the promise, using the best words I can. The best part of my heart and soul I possibly can, to get them to see it's possible to become financially independent and healthy and powerful and unique and sophisticated and cultured and refined, influential. What a promise. We've got to get better, parents, at helping our kids see the promise of the future. And here's why. For every promise, there's a price. You've got to add that note. For every promise, there's a price. To pay. But here's what's exciting. If the promise is clear, the price is easy. But if the promise is not clear, the price is usually too difficult. If we can get our kids to see, I'm telling you, they will pay. They will pay the disciplines. They'll go find this little book if they can see. But here's the challenge. If kids can't see the future, they don't want to pay. If you can't see good health, you're not going to go for an apple. If you can't see a better future, you won't go for a walk around the block. If you can't see a better future, you won't take the time to build a library and fortify your life with good ideas and things of value. So here's one of the challenges for all of us, a well-designed future. Let's help our kids understand the promise of the future. And they will pay. Kids will do the most extraordinary disciplines every day if they can see. If they can see. If they can see. So here's another miracle humans can perform. The ability to reach into the future for inspiration. Why? A promise well designed, well defined. Health and power and influence and uniqueness and sophistication and culture and the good life, good taste. Now here's number 3. On attitude. It's how you feel about everybody. We've got to have a good feeling about everybody. Here's one of the major reasons why. You can't succeed by yourself. It's hard to find a rich hermit. I mean, you can't succeed by yourself. We all what? Need each other. Key phrase to take home. Each of us need all of us. One person doesn't make a market. One person doesn't make a country. One person doesn't make a symphony orchestra, music that will make the spirit soar. One person doesn't make a family. One person doesn't make a community. One person doesn't make an economy. Give us a chance for riches and wealth for all of us. But here's what's exciting. Each of us have available, all of us, to make a contribution to each of us so that each of us can become as wealthy as we want and as healthy as we want, because we've got all these ideas that have been brought here from all the rest of the countries of the world. No country in existence for the last 6,500 years has had so many gifts brought in a 200-year period like America the last 200 years. People have come from where? All over the world. They've brought their gifts to America. The gift of language, and the gift of politics, and the gift of the Constitution, and the gift of liberty and freedom, and the gift of religious liberty, and the gift of the freedom of the press, and the gift of language, the gift of the diversity of ethnic streams have flowed into America, unprecedented in the last 6,500 years. There's been nothing like it in history. So much brought from all the other countries and deposited in one country called America. There's been nothing like it. It's called the miracle of America. The gift of medicine, the gift of inventions, the gift of uniqueness. All of the stuff that's been brought here, and what? All of the stuff that's been brought here is available to each of us. To each of us. And if you've got some warped attitude about all that, I'm telling you, you'll miss it all. You'll have to wind up with ashes. You'll have to wind up with trinkets. You'll have to wind up with pennies. What I'm asking you to do is learn to appreciate all that's been brought here and reach out and touch it. Somebody spent a lifetime from some other country writing a book, and the guy won't even pick up a free library card and go get it and check it out and let it affect his life. Gifts brought here that you ignore. Gifts brought here that you say, ho-hum, when's the next happy hour? I'm telling you, it'll leave you in the dust and the shadows. Learn to appreciate all that's been brought to us. Gifts brought to America, unprecedented. And your attitude about that goes a long way in helping to change your life and your life structure equities for the future. Now here's the last one. It's how you feel about yourself. Understanding self-worth. That is the real challenge. Once you begin to understand your own self-worth, I'm telling you, your life will begin to soar. You can walk out of the darkness into the light. You can walk out of heartbreak into confidence. Understanding your own self-worth. Here's a good phrase to take home. Each of us must understand how valuable all of us are. But here's the second part. All of us must understand how valuable each of us are. Is your contribution valuable to the whole? I'm telling you, without you, the whole is incomplete. I'm telling you, it takes each of us to make all of us. Each of us with a contribution. Think how powerful we can be if each of us make a better contribution. In fact, John Kennedy said it best. Surely it's the cry of the new Democratic Party. John Kennedy's ancient words. And he said what? Ask for everything and see what you wind up with. No. John Kennedy said what? Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what? What you can do for your country. I'm asking you to consider yourself valuable enough to make an important contribution to all of us. You make an important contribution to all of us. And then in return, you get to draw from all of us and the gifts that we bring to each of us. That is the power. And if you walk away from here today with that new refined attitude, I'm telling you, you can have whatever you want. You can have the health you want. You can have the income you want. You can have the future you want. Your relationship with your family will start to improve immediately. All you got to do is take it serious and do not neglect. Like an apple a day, do not neglect. Like a new book of your new library, do not neglect. An entry in your journal, do not neglect. Don't get lazy in learning. Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of health. Learning is the beginning of ecstasy and joy and pleasure and lifestyle and all the treasures that are available for the human family. I'm asking you, start a whole new process today. You'll be happy that you did. Your life will change dramatically. And then what I want back, just as a favor from you to me, let me know about it. I like to get the letters. You cannot believe the letters I've got in my files from teenagers and business executives now all over the world. Some of them have to be translated from other languages where I go do seminars like this today. I want that to be part of your story and your experience. That's why I came by, to make this kind of investment. I don't need to work this hard, except for that. I could be riding my motorcycle on the Jeep trails today. Right? I don't need to work this hard, but I do need the experience because I want the return. I want this to affect your bank account today. I'm asking you not just to take notes. If you'll go home and work on this stuff, I'm telling you it'll change your life and your future, and that's why I'm here. I want it to happen for you like it happened for me. Okay, when we come back from our stretch, I've got the miracle piece now of the 5 major pieces, the piece that works miracles. All right, let's just get started here now and finish up number 2 on attitude. What shapes our attitude? Let's cover those notes. What shapes our attitude? Okay, we covered, right, how you feel about the past, the future, how you feel about everybody, and how you feel about yourself. But here's what shapes our attitude. Number 1, education. Emotions must go to school to learn their value and how to work for you instead of against you in the marketplace, at home, social, community, whatever. Because emotions for the future will either embarrass you or support you. And a great deal of it depends on how well educated your emotions are. It's okay to throw yourself on the floor and kick and scream when you're 3, but not 33. Right? At 33, we expect you to have your emotions so well educated that now they serve you instead of embarrass you. Okay. So, key to work on. Emotions must be educated. Now, here's number 2. Attitude is greatly shaped by influence and association. A good phrase my teacher gave me age 25. Here's what he said: never mistake the power of influence. 2 words describe influence. Number 1, powerful. Number 2, subtle. Influences sometimes can be very subtle. We wouldn't let somebody probably drive us off course, but we might let somebody nudge us off course. Right? Got their elbow in our back, just pushing a little, just pushing a little, just pushing a little. First thing you know, you find yourself way off track. Now, somebody might ask, how'd you get way over here? I said, gosh, I don't know. I said, well, didn't you feel that elbow? I said, well, yes, I felt that, but I didn't think that much about it. That was it. That was it. Just pushing a little every day, pushing a little. So you've got to really take a look at influence and association. What's that? What is number 2? Okay. Number 1 was emotions need to be educated. Number 2, attitude is affected by influence and association. For people seriously interested in leadership, and parenting being one of the greatest challenges of leadership, we ask these 3 important questions. And I think this is good. Right? When you come to the leadership seminar, if you get a chance, come to the 1-day. And then if you get a chance, come to the 2-day sometime next year, where we've got a lot of time to go through more details on this stuff. But for serious people interested in influence, leadership, management, parenting, we go through these 3 questions. Let me give you those 3. 3 important questions on association. Here's number 1. Who am I around? Every once in a while, you got to sit down and just make a list. Here's the people I'm around, a fair share of the time. Who am I around? Question number 2. What are they doing to me? That's a valid question. Where have they got me going? The people I'm around. What have they got me saying? How have they got me talking? What vocabulary have they got me using? What have they got me reading? Where have they got me going? And here's the biggest one of all. What have they got me becoming? The people I'm around. Good questions. And then here's question number 3. Is that okay? Just take each person and their influence and say, is that okay? I'm not saying it isn't okay who you're around and what they're doing to you. I'm not saying that isn't okay. I'm saying check. Over a period of 5 or 6 years, this stuff is subtle, and you can find yourself off course. Health, personal, business, family, enterprise, relationship, corporation, doesn't matter. Influence is powerful and subtle. Who am I around? What are they doing to me? And is that okay? Now, here's the answers to association. For those that are interested in a mature approach to life, to develop the power and the influence, here's number 1, disassociate. I mean, after you evaluate some associations, you might have to come to this conclusion: disassociate. I'm not saying do it quickly, I'm not saying do it lightly, but I'm saying if it comes down to it and you have to, consider this: disassociate, walk away. Nancy was right. Just say no. I mean, she's right. Put some distance. That's what no does. Put some distance between you and the wrong influence. Now, if you have to be polite, say no thank you. If you don't have to be polite, just say no. Now, I know a lot of people these days are into yes, right? Big word, yes. You got to say yes, but you got to say no. If you don't say no, I'm telling you, it'll mess up your health, mess up your future, mess up your chance for enterprise, profits, equities. Got to learn to say no, especially to the wrong influence, wrong association. So that's the first one, disassociate. Here's number 2, limited association. We've all got to be around a variety of people on a business day, social day, school day. We all have to. But here's the clue. Some people you can be around a few minutes, but not a few hours. Okay? Some people you can be around a few hours, but not a few days. So, you refine a study of your own association and influence and ask yourself, how much time would be beneficial and after that would not? Limited association. Here's number 3, expanded association. Find people of value and see if you can spend more time. Part of it might be seminars like this, or attend church more often, whatever. Get around people that have got something of value to share with you and see if you can get more time and let the better influence help shape your attitude and your future. Some influence has to come maybe by book, by cassettes. That's why we put this stuff on cassettes and books and videos, to let the association and the influence carry on after the live seminar has long since finished, so that the work may not be finished and it can go on by other means. People have long since been deceased if they left a book, if they left a cassette, if they left some writings, if they left something behind that you could read or study or look at. How valuable that would be. Okay, that kind of influence. Okay, that's what shapes our attitude. So now we've covered the first 2 pieces of the 5 major pieces. Number 1 was philosophy. We're affected by what we know. Number 2 was attitude. We're affected by how we feel. Here's number 3. Everybody that's ready for number 3, say, I'm ready. I'm ready. All right. Number 3 is activity. We're affected by what we do. 1 is what we know. 2 is how we feel. 3 is what we do. Activity. This activity now is the work part. This is the labor part. In a unique experience, we refer to it as labor pains. I'm short on personal experience here, but the mothers in the room would tell us what? That's a unique experience. Now, why would a potential mother be willing to put herself through what she knows is ultimately going to be a rather painful experience? Why would she be willing to go through that? Simple answer. It's finally the only way to create new life. And above all notes you make today, make that one. New life only comes from labor. Labor. This is the miracle part. Labor produces life. Sure, it might be painful, but we've got a new phrase these days. It says what? No pain, what? No gain. The gain is the commodity, the new life, the new value, the new treasure, the new strength, the new muscle, the new whatever, the new bank account. But I'm telling you, it will not happen unless you put your better philosophy and your attitude into an activity program, a labor program, a work program. Without this, you've got no new miracle for your life. Key to my whole lecture for the day. This is it. This is the miracle piece. In fact, in the Bible, now I'm an amateur on the Bible, but in the Bible there's a book called the Book of the Activities. It's an extraordinary book. In fact, on everybody's best list, no matter what scholar puts a list together of the best writings ever written, this book always appears. Whether they're a believer in Christianity or not, every scholar puts this book on their list of the best writings ever written in the last 6,500 years. Interestingly enough, Old Testament always appears on everybody's list, no matter who puts it together. New Testament always appears. And this book out of New Testament always appears on everybody's list of the best writings ever written. And the reason is because it's one of the most extraordinary pieces of writing that's ever been written in 6,000 years. The Book of the Activities is a chronological, detailed description of the labor and the activities of the early Christians and the early Christian leaders in great detail. And when you finish reading this extraordinary book, here's what you will say. No wonder. That's what you will say when you finish this book. You will say, no wonder Christianity has lasted for 2,000 years and has become such a powerful influence in the world. Now, whether you're a believer or non-believer, we're just dealing with facts here. When you finish the book, you'll have the secret to the answer. No wonder it's so powerful, so influential, has lasted for 2,000 years. No wonder, look what they did. Now, you've got to jot that word down. Look what they did. That's the secret to the miracle process. Now, someone might argue with me and say, no, Mr. Rohn, the secret to the miracle process of Christianity was, look what they said. Well, I know what they said was important. That was the philosophy. What they said was the philosophy. But the philosophy would not have worked the miracle that it would have lasted 2,000 years. So let me give it to you in a little philosophical phrase. Here it is. Wisdom. Wisdom uninvested in labor is wasted and works no miracle. Someone else may say, no, Mr. Rohn, the miracle of Christianity was look how strong they felt. Look at the faith they had. Look at the courage they had. Strong feelings, emotions, power. I know that. But let me give you another phrase. Here it is. Faith uninvested in labor is wasted. There is no miracle without the labor part. That's why some people trying to become successful with, subliminal affirmations, it's too silly. Even multi-track. Bombard, pre-conscious, subconscious. I'm telling you, that's not where it's at. I got a good phrase for you to take home. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. Unless you put a good idea now into labor, it works no miracle. But if you put wisdom and faith into labor, activity, now the chances to work a miracle are absolutely profound. Now the labor part comes in two parts. Let me give you that. Here's number one. Do what you can. Just don't neglect to do what you can. If you should eat an apple a day and you could eat an apple a day and you don't, that's called formula for disaster. Cardiovascular problems and all other kind of problems. Should, could, don't, that's formula for disaster. Now you've got to come up with your own shoulds. Don't let me dictate your shoulds. But if you say I should and I could, but I don't, then I'm telling you you're on the wrong track. 6 years from now, you'll be driving what you don't want to drive, living where you don't want to live. Don't have the health you want, don't have the treasures you want, empty purse, empty heart. You cannot let yourself fall into that kind of a disastrous formula, should, could, won't. It's disaster. So here's number one to perform a new miracle for your life. Number one, do what you can. If you can walk around the block, do it. If you can eat an apple a day, do it. If you can develop better health practices, do it. If you can get a book,